I'm James Cridland, the radio futurologist. Hello, and every week I write a newsletter all about international radio trends and where radio is going. And you're probably subscribed to it, I hope you are. But if not, then this is the rather shambolic podcast version of it. And this is talking about shortwave radio and who owns the receivers. But first, RT was taken off the air in Europe, the US and Australia. RT is a station that often represented a different point of view from Western authorities, and it was removed after government pressure. Similarly, Echo of Moscow was taken off the air in Russia. A station that often represented a different point of view from Russian authorities was removed after government pressure. There is one difference, of course. In this little snip of an interview on the BBC World Service, a journalist for Echo Moscow, Tatiana Felgenhauer, is asked, what next?
Okay, you can shut us down, but you cannot close the internet and make the information disappear. It doesn't work like that. Unfortunately for Mr. Putin.
What next for you then?
Arrests?
You feel like you will be arrested?
I think like everyone who will continue this work, of course, they will try to arrest us, and they preparing special laws for this. So it's a matter of time.
Now, many international broadcasters have restarted their shortwave broadcasting into Ukraine. The BBC World Service is producing a Ukrainian service, but only for 4 hours a day. Now, of course, this is commendable. But as a 2010 piece from Radio World that I discovered points out, shortwave broadcasting has mainly ceased. And even back then, in places like India and Vietnam, shortwave listening had shrunk to tiny figures. And the demise of shortwave listening can only have exacerbated over the last 10 years as more services have been switched off. The ABC in Australia turned off shortwave in the Pacific in 2017. All India radio is studying switch off too. Shortwave for one Midwestern USA listener in 2020 consisted of a lot of religious broadcasting, propaganda, offensive content, and, slightly weirdly, Bell's 1010 CFRB, which is a news talk station in Toronto, which has an international shortwave relay, because of course it does. More than 20 years ago, Graham Mitten shared some research data about shortwave radio ownership. Maybe it's Myton. Let's go with Myton. Anyway, Myton claims that in neighbouring Slovakia, 77% of households had access to shortwave radio 20 years ago. So assuming that that data is actually from 1998 or so, it's worth remembering that the country was just 6 years old, and parts of Europe were still emerging from the Cold War. It's a very different world these days. Now, I can't find any data showing ownership of shortwave radio receivers that's newer than Myton's, and I'm sure it exists, but I'd love to learn more about shortwave receiver ownership. Do you know anything about shortwave receiver ownership? Do you know any numbers? I would really like to know. I'm at james@crid.land. That's my email address, james@crid.land, if you know anything at all. And incidentally, I did look into buying a shortwave radio the other day. What I'd like is a radio with shortwave, medium wave, FM, DAB, and DRM. I'd like a radio capable of receiving anything that's being broadcast. I'm not sure one exists. If you do know of one, I would love that. That would be cool. Ideally, if it's small, and no, not a USB stick. That doesn't count. James@crid.land. That would be lovely. Meanwhile, in Poland, RMF Ukrainia on 98.6 FM has started broadcasting for Ukrainian refugees. I linked to a listen online link in my newsletter, james.crid.land. When I tuned in, it was in English. A news bulletin helping people with school admissions for refugees, the weather telling you to take warm clothes if you're going to the border. RMF is part of Bauer, and heavens, I've been rude enough about Bauer in my newsletter, but this is a very good thing. Many congratulations to them. Elsewhere, I wrote for the EBU's Tech Eye magazine about the need for radio to move to digital-first content so that it can attract younger audiences. It's a free download. You'll find that linked in james.crid.land. Elsewhere, impressive data from ESPN showing it has over 50% of total US sports audio listening. Not radio listening, but audio listening, which rather underlines the benefit of a multi-platform future. Now, if you're looking for a good listen, yes, that was an edit. That was an edit point, that. Pierre Bouvard was talking about US radio ad load and compares it with podcasting on the Sounds Profitable podcast. Bouvard suggests that podcasts are under-commercialized, giving their comparatively light ad load. Others might suggest that radio is over-commercialized, of course, but who am I to say that? Sad news coming from the UK. Union Jack Radio, a set of 3 national radio stations, has closed. The company has entered administration. Staff will be made redundant. Jeff Lloyd has written his thoughts. Very cleverly, though, it was set up as a separate business from Jack FM Oxford, with which it shared buildings and some staff functions. So independent radio in Oxford hasn't been pulled down by that. I know the folks well at Jack and wish them all of the very best. And a little plug for livenow.news, which is my streaming news TV website. It's free at livenow.news. You'll find a lot of different TV news channels there, including RT, although you'll not see that in Europe currently. I'd love to build an Android TV app for that, but I assume Google wouldn't approve it. But if you know different, james@crid.land would be lovely. And thank you to Richard Hilton, James Masterton and Brun Audio Consulting for your ongoing support of this newsletter. I'm very grateful to you. If you'd like to support my work in any way, you can buy me a coffee. Become a member to give regularly or just give a one-off coffee or 5. buymeacoffee.com/JamesCridland is where to do that. Or if you're listening on a new podcast app, hit that boost button, send me a message and some sats. I would appreciate that. If you've no idea what I'm talking about, newpodcastapps.com. My professional website has more information about who I am and what I do and whether I can help you further. That's at james.cridland.net. And I'll be at Podcast Movement Evolutions in Los Angeles in a couple of weeks, also speaking at Radio Canada's Audio conference at the same time as well. One of those may be virtual. I'll also be at Radio Days Europe in Malmö in Sweden in May, the podcast show in London in May, and Canadian Music Week in June. Very much looking forward to getting back on the road. Also very much looking forward to a drink of some water in just a second. But thank you very much for staying with this and keep listening.